Hi, this is the Cartoon Koala, and who doesn't love a good crossover? It's always fun to see two or more of your favorite pieces of fiction interacting. Have you ever asked yourself, hey, if one fictional property crosses over with another, and then the second crosses over with a third, and so on and so forth, would that create a shared fictional universe between them? And the answer is yes. Yes, it would. There have been attempts to connect all video games, cartoons, and live-action TV shows, but there's never been a video attempt at creating a crossover universe that includes literally everything. At least not to completion and or as detailed as mine will be. And that's what I'm here to do. In this new multi-part series, I will prove through various cameos and crossovers that all of your favorite pieces of fiction are in fact in the same universe. Or multiverse, but universe sounds better. Now, before we start, I feel like we have to establish what qualifies as a connection, and what all forms of fiction will be included in this. A connection is basically anything that would imply that two pieces of fiction are in the same universe. This includes anything from full-fledged crossovers, to brief cameos, to shared locations, to yes, even fictional brands appearing in multiple productions. Though I'm not gonna go all Tommy Westfall universe with it, and include generic brands like Morley cigarettes, which appear in literally everything. The brand has to be depicted in the same way as it is depicted in the other piece of fiction. It's even better if there's some sort of behind the scenes connection between the two, or if said brand actually played a big part in the story of one of them. And unless there is some sort of overlap between the crew, there has to be some copyright involved. No parodies or fan works. This also means no series that were already public domain by the time of their crossover. Only copyrighted versions of these public domain works, or series that weren't yet in the public domain at the time of their crossover. In terms of what we're counting for fiction, I'll be mainly focusing on movies, TV specials, TV shows, web series, video games, which includes browser and mobile games, and books, including comics, which includes comic strips. When it comes to any other forms of fiction, like toy lines, advertising characters, board and card games, or theme park attractions, I'll only be including them if they've been spun off into other media and appear in crossovers in the previously mentioned mediums. Fiction appearing as fiction in another piece of fiction does not count. This includes crossovers that happen via dreams and hallucinations. But that being said, I'm not going to be worrying too much about canon versus non-canon, or how the timelines match up. There are definitely cases of media that are in this expanded universe being implied fictional, and other media that are also in this expanded universe, but we'll just ignore that. There's also a bit of a loophole to the fiction within fiction rule, which I will be mentioning shortly. Real people or brands appearing in multiple productions also does not count. When we reach major crossovers, I'll just list all the connections off at once, and I'll probably be ignoring some smaller crossovers if they already connect to something that is included in a big crossover. Though I also probably won't mention media that primarily functions as a crossover if it doesn't connect anything that's not already a part of another crossover. Spin-offs will only be mentioned if I find them particularly noteworthy, since their connection is usually obvious. But Mario, for example, is technically a spin-off of Donkey Kong, yet Mario has topped Donkey Kong in terms of popularity. For the sake of simplicity, I'm also gonna count every incarnation of a franchise as one thing, even if some of them clearly take place in different canons. Special thanks to the Crossover Wiki, which is my primary source for most of this information. Without further ado, let's get started. What better place to start than the biggest video game crossover of all time, and probably the biggest crossover in general, Super Smash Bros. Now you might be saying, aren't all the video game characters in Smash Bros. Implied to just be toys coming to life? Well, I'm glad you asked, dear viewer, as the Crossover Wiki has this handy thing called the Toy Story rule, which is essentially a loophole that states that if a character originating from a piece of fiction appears as fictional in another, but is depicted as magically or inexplicably alive anyway, it counts as a crossover. So Smash Bros. Is fair game. So now to list all 180 series connected to Smash Bros. Across all 5 games. This list includes series represented through playable characters, items, stages, assist trophies, cameos, and spirits, since they are said to be real characters in universe. Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, Metroid, Kirby, Star Fox, Pokemon, F-Zero, Earthbound, Ice Climber, Fire Emblem, Game & Watch, Panel to Pawn, Balloon Fight, Super Scope 6, Perfect Dark, Pikmin, Kid Icarus, Famicom Robot, Daigasto Band Brothers, Metal Gear, Sonic, Animal Crossing, Electroplankton, Sim, Excite, Kuririn, Wars, Golden Sun, Drill Dozer, Devil World, Punch-Out, Nintendogs, Custom Robo, Sin and Punishment, Starfy, Soccer, Clue Land, Wii, Xenoblade Chronicles, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Mappy, Duck Hunt, Hogan's Alley, Wild Gunman, Me Plaza, Tomodachi, Color TV Game 6, Dylan's Rollin' Western, Brain Age, Kieru no Tame Nikane wa Naru, Sheriff, The Mysterious Murasame Castle, Galaxian, Pilot Wings, Rally X, Xevious, Dig Dug, Rhythm Heaven, Street Fighter, Final Fantasy, Bayonetta, Splatoon, Castlevania, Monster Hunter, Joy Mech Fight, Art Academy, Swap Note, Fatal Frame, Nintendo Badge Arcade, ARMS, Bomberman, Virtua Fighter, Shovel Knight, Nintendo Land, Baseball, Tennis, Urban Champion, Mach Rider, Volleyball, Famicom Fairy Tales, Ice Hockey, Famicom Detective Club, Yakuman, X, Molemania, Card Hero, Battle Clash, Stunt Race FX, Marvelous, Suti Hakun, Hajimari no Mori, Telero Boxer, Wave Race, 1080 Degrees, Napoleon, Magical Vacation, Tomato Adventure, Senin Kazuko, Shalian, The Tower, Calciobit, Cubivore, Eternal Darkness, Gift Pia, Baton Katos, Chibi Robo, Another Code, Big Brain Academy, Osu Tatake Wandon, Elite Beat Agents, Project Hacker, Chosaju Mecha MG, Hotel Dusk, Room 215, Kurikin, Sujin Taisen, Mag Kid, Ash, Archaic Sealed Heart, Make 10, A Journey of Numbers, Soma Bringer, Fossil Fighters, Glory of Heracles, Shabaru, DS Oriori Navi, Style Savvy, Luxley's Lineup, Suket Atu Saruban, Captain Rainbow, Disaster, Day of Crisis, Tact of Magic, Zangeki no Regenlev, and Kansaku, Fling Smash, The Last Story, Pandora's Tower, Steel Diver, Pushmo, Sakura Samurai, Kiki Trick, Cold Sept, Harmonite, Fluidity, Nintendoji, Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, Box Boy, Codename Steam, Ever Oasis, Sushi Striker, The Wonderful 101, Rayman and the Rabbids, Snipperclips, Shantae, Persona, Nintendo Labo, Dragon Quest, Banjo-Kazooie, Daemon X Machina, Tetris, Fatal Fury, The King of Fighters, Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown, Athena or Psycho Soldier, Akari Warriors, Resident Evil, Astral Chain, River City Ransom, Cuphead, Warframe, Ring Fit Adventure, Mana, Octopath Traveler, Minecraft, Bravely Default, Ghosts and Goblins, Tekken, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, No More Heroes, and Kingdom Hearts. 181 game series, and we're just getting started. Now time to talk about the other series these games connect to. First, of course, there's Mario. Mario himself appears in the games Pinball, the Game Boy version of Kicks, the GameCube versions of NBA Street V3 and SSX on Tour, part of the NBA Street and SSX series, respectively. Fortune Street DS and Wii, part of the Fortune Street series. Just Dance Wii in the Wii version of Just Dance Free, and in the Wii U version of Scribblenauts Unlimited. Neon Cat is also spawnable in this game. Mario also appears in the obscure comic series N-Gang, originally published in the German Club Nintendo magazine, along with a Hunter from Turok 2, part of the Turok series, and Conker from the series of the same name. If you want more obscure German comic crossovers, Joe and Mac from the series of the same name, appear in part 1 of a Mario comic story, also from Club Nintendo, titled Super Mario Verloren in der Zeit, which translates to Super Mario Lost in Time. Eric, Baleog, and Olaf from the Lost Vikings series appear in part 2, and Plock from the series of the same name, along with the Battletoads from the Battletoads series, all appear in part 3. Yoshi stars in the comic story Blast Corpse and Yoshi's Now Kekse, translating Blast Corpse and Yoshi's Bang Cookies, which, as the title suggests, also features characters from the game Blast Corps. And finally, Wario stars in the comic story Wario's Weihnachtsmärchen, in English Wario's Christmas Tale, which also features a cameo from Kid Clown from the series of the same name. Meanwhile, in Japan, the Japanese icon Doraemon makes a small cameo in an issue of the Super Mario Kun manga during the 1,000-Year Door arc, likely due to them sharing a publisher and magazine. Moving away from comics and back into games, Koopa Troopa's cameo in the game Star Tropics, the viruses from Dr. Mario cameo in the game Motoko-chan No Wonder Kitchen, items from the Mario games appear in Ace Combat Assault Horizon Legacy Plus from the Ace Combat series, and in the Nintendo Switch version of the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, there's a framed newspaper from the New Donk Times, and a blatant reference to New Donk City, a location first introduced in Super Mario Odyssey. The American version of Super Mario Bros. 2 is a reskin of the Japanese title Yumi Kojo Doki Doki Panic, and thus many of the enemies from the latter appear in the former, and would even go on to appear in future Mario games. Mamechi from Tamagotchi is selectable in Mario Kart Arcade GP2. The game Puzzle and Dragons Super Mario Bros. Edition is part of both the Mario and Puzzle and Dragons series, and this is 100% non-canon, but screw it. Inspector Gadget from the cartoon series of the same name guest stars on the live-action segments of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show episode Defective Gadgetry, probably because they were both produced by Dick. The character of Elvira also guest stars not once but twice in the Super Show, first in the episode Mommy's Curse, and then in the episode The Ghoul of My Dreams. Bowser and Donkey Kong are both playable via amiibos and Skylanders Superchargers, part of the Skylanders series, which itself is a spin-off of the Spyro series, and Bowser also appears in the Disney animated film Wreck-It Ralph, which if you've seen, you would know it also features cameos from many other arcade characters. These include characters from Dance Dance Revolution, Altered Beast, Q*bert, Tapper, Road Blasters, Paperboy, Frogger, Burger Time, Pong, and Crystal Castles. It also features cameos and Easter eggs from several other Disney properties: Bolt, Meet the Robinsons, Tangled, and the short film Paperman. And while we're on that note, its terrible sequel, Ralph Breaks the Internet, features cameos from characters and objects from a bunch more Disney properties: Iron Man, Dumbo, Up, Toy Story, Big Hero 6, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, A Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Pocahontas, Mulan, The Princess and the Frog, Brave, Frozen, Moana, Peter Pan, Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse, Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, and Zootopia. These once again all count, since while the characters are portrayed as being arcade and movie characters in universe, they're still all inexplicably alive and have their own thoughts and feelings. Moving on to Donkey Kong Jr. cameos in the audience in Smash Ping Pong, the Famicom Disk System version of Konami's Ping Pong. The FPS game Jet Force Gemini features Greenwood Village from Diddy Kong Racing as a hidden stage, along with a cameo from the Rare website's mascot, Mr. Pants, who would later star in his own game, It's Mr. Pants, appearing as a playable character. And the head of Saber Wolf from Rare's Saberman game series appears in Cranky Kong's house in the GBA version of Donkey Kong Country. Donkey Kong is also involved in 2 more major video game crossovers. The first is the Saturday morning cartoon series Captain N the Game Master, where a teenage boy and his dog are transported to a world called Video Land, where all the NES characters live. Donkey Kong appears in several episodes. The other games that are represented in the series that haven't already been mentioned include The Adventures of Bayou Billy, Wizards and Warriors, California Games, Puss in Boots: Perro's Great Adventure, Foxanadu, a spin-off of the Dragon Slayer franchise, Marble Madness, Bo Jackson Baseball, part of the TV sports series, Jordan vs. Bird, One-on-One, part of the One-on-One series, and Robin Hood: Prince of Thieves. Great lineup, I know. The next big crossover Donkey Kong found himself involved in would occur 25 years later and is just as prestigious. It's the 2014 Adam Sandler comedy Pixels, which features characters from classic arcade games being brought to life by aliens who misinterpret video feeds of classic arcade games as a declaration of war, and so send them to attack the Earth. These include Donkey Kong, as well as characters from Arkanoid, Centipede, Space Invaders, Robotron 2084, Joust, and the Smurfs. Sadly, this movie doesn't give us a firm connection to the extended Sandlerverse, though. For such a popular game series, you'd probably expect Zelda to give us a lot more connections, but the only one that I could find that isn't to a series that we have already mentioned, or will be covered by a major crossover, is that in the Nintendo Switch version of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, part of the Elder Scrolls series, the Master Sword, Hylian Shield, and Champion's Tunic, all items from Zelda, are unlockable by using a Zelda amiibo. Metroid gives us just one more than that, with the world of Metroid appearing in Volume 4 of the obscure manga Famicom Ryu, with a plot similar to Captain N, and also appearing in the Cosmic Table in the Virtual Boy game Galactic Pinball. Yes, we managed to connect the Virtual Boy to this. Kirby picks up the pace a little by cameoing in the opening of the Super Nintendo game Arcana, giving us yet another German crossover comic by starring in the Club Nintendo story Kirby und das Geheimnis des Glibbers, which features cameos from Aero the Acrobat from the game of the same name, and several characters from the cartoon series Tiny Toon Adventures, and being spun off into the anime series Kirby Right Back At Ya, which was involved in the Fight for the Foxbox crossover special, which of course aired on Fox's then Saturday morning block Foxbox, later renamed 4Kids TV, and featured characters from 6 other Foxbox shows. One of these is Sonic X, which is already covered by Sonic, but the other 5 are the 2003 incarnation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Cubix Robots for Everyone, Ultimate Muscle, the Kinnikuman Legacy, part of the Kinnikuman series, Funky Cops, and the Cramp Twins. Again, 100% non-canon, but screw it. Though we quickly go back to one-off crossovers with Star Fox, which just connects to Starlink, with several characters from Star Fox appearing in the Nintendo Switch version of Starlink Battle for Atlas. Pokemon is another huge franchise, and thus, once again, you'd expect more connections, but no, just 2. The game Pokemon Conquest is a crossover between Pokemon and Nobunaga's Ambition, and the fictional film Angels with Filthy Souls, first introduced in the Home Alone film series, appears on TV in the Detective Pikachu movie. Yes, this was officially licensed, and yes, this is the only way to bring Home Alone into the universe. The Earthbound or Mother series is yet another one-off, with Ocho from Mother Free cameoing in the DSiWare game A Kappa's Trail, due to them sharing a developer. Brownie Brown. I know that everyone complains about how many Fire Emblem characters there are in Smash, but if you want another huge crossover, we're gonna have to talk about it. First of all, Fire Emblem characters have appeared in the Nintendo-published mobile game Dragalia Lost during special events, but that's not the huge crossover I'm referring to. No, that would be Project X Zone 2: A Brave New World, a sequel to the original Project X Zone, which features characters from Fire Emblem Awakening. The Project X Zone Duology also features characters and stages from the following Namco, Capcom, Sega, and Nintendo game series: Tales of, Dot Hack, Xenosaga, God Eater, Super Robot Wars, Namco x Capcom, Darkstalkers, Valkyria Chronicles, Sakura Wars, Shine-In, Resonance of Fate, Valkyrie, Eumeria, Devil May Cry, Cyberbots, Rival Schools, Space Channel 5, Dynamite Deca, House of the Dead, Fightin' Vipers, Fantasy Zone, Space Harrier, Alien Storm, Techromancer, Hyperdyne Sidearms, Gain Ground, Strider, Shinobi, Yakuza, Soul Calibur, Summon Knight, Captain Commando, Star Gladiator, Ace Attorney, Capcom Fightin' Evolution, Streets of Rage, Shenmue, Ordyne, Yokai Dochuki, Forgotten Worlds, Wagon Land, Toy Pop, Legendary Wins, Battle Circuit, XX's, Alex Kidd, and Marvel Land. And just like that, we added nearly 50 more game series to our collection. Thanks, Fire Emblem. Going back into some smaller crossovers, we have our second case of a game being a reskin, technically placing it in the same universe as the original, with the Famicom game Hello Kitty World being heavily based off of Balloon Fight, again with many of the same enemies appearing in both titles. The Super Scope, a fictional weapon and Super Nintendo accessory that appears in Smash Bros, also appears in the games X-Zone and Bazooka Blitzkrieg, where it is also compatible. Perfect Dark is a spiritual successor to the game GoldenEye 007, which is based on the James Bond film GoldenEye. It originally was supposed to be based on the James Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies, runs on an upgraded version of GoldenEye's engine, and features some of the same weapons and multiplayer maps. And the main protagonist of Perfect Dark, Joanna Dark, appears as a weapon in the Xbox version of the pre-order All-Stars pack for the game Worms WMD, part of the Worms series, a pack that also featured items and characters from 5 other games: Rocket League, Orcs Must Die, Goat Simulator, Saints Row, Broforce, and Team Fortress on the Steam version. Solid Snake and Raiden from Metal Gear are selectable characters in the fellow Konami game Evolution Skateboarding. Solid Snake also makes a guest appearance in Boktai 2 from the Boktai series, also by Konami. But don't think that's it for Metal Gear, as it also connects us to 3 more big video game crossovers besides Smash Bros. First of all, Gray Fox is a playable character in the Konami handheld crossover racing game Konami Crazy Racers, which, as you can imagine, features characters from many other Konami series. Don Bear Gomon, Gradius, Twin B, Power Pros, Poppin' Music, and Rakuga Kids. Its mobile game sequel, Crazy Kart Racing, gives us 6 more Konami properties: Antarctic Adventure, Rocket Knight, Silent Hill, Rumble Roses, Track and Field, and Dewey's Adventure. Solid Snake is a selectable character in Dream Mix TV World Fighters, a fighting game featuring characters from Konami games, as well as Hudson Games and Takara toy lines. I've already mentioned all the Konami series represented, so from Hudson you've got Momotaro Densetsu, Tengai Makio, Adventure Island, Bloody Roar, and Star Soldier is represented by a stage. And from Takara you've got Psy Girls, Licka-chan, Microman, Transformers, Beyblade, and Koeta-chan is represented by a stage, or Trina and her forest friends, as it was apparently called in America. Finally, Raiden is a playable character in Sony's mostly forgotten Smash Bros. Wannabe PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, featuring characters, stages, and items from popular PlayStation titles: BioShock, Infamous, Killzone, Fat Princess, Jak and Daxter, God of War, Heavenly Sword, Uncharted, Parappa the Rapper, Ratchet and Clank, Little Big Planet, Medieval, Sly Cooper, Ape Escape, Twisted Metal, Doko Demo Isia, Buzz, Loco Roco, Patapon, Hot Shots Gull, Resistance, Carnival Island, Mod Nation Racers, The Mark of Kree, Kula World, Wipeout, Warhawk, Starhawk, Gravity Rush, Escape Plan, Dead Space, and The Unfinished Swan. Sonic the Hedgehog, one of the greatest and most attractive characters ever thought up. He can run at sound speed, take out enemies in a flash, and best of all, he's been featured in a crap ton of crossovers. For starters, being Sega's mascot, it's unsurprising he would make cameos and guest appearances in some of Sega's other games. These include Sega Game Pack 4-in-1, Crusader of Senti, Bug, Virtua Striker Free from the Virtua Striker series, Le Mans 24, Sega Splash Golf, Dragon Coins, Monster Gear, Koto Damen, Sega Heroes, and Chain Chronicle. Some non-Sega games Sonic has made his way into include Farm Hawk Arena, Destiny of Spirits, Monster Super League, Eulela, Cookie Run, Candy Crush Saga, Kart Rider, and Roblox. Flicky from Sega's arcade game of the same name appears as a species in the Sonic series, and the Angry Birds appeared as playable characters in an update to the mobile game Sonic Dash. The much more ancient mobile game Sonic Head-On is a crossover between Sonic and another Sega arcade game called, well, Head-On. The Lightbringer himself, Linkara, and just for calling him that, Linkara hates me now, sorry Linkara, host and protagonist of the comic review and web series Atop the Fourth Wall, cameos in issue 257 of Sonic the Hedgehog by Archie Comics, a cameo that Linkara himself would acknowledge. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Didn't I say that real people don't count as a connection? Isn't Linkara a real person? Does a review show really count as proper fiction? Well, I'm glad you asked, imaginary viewer, because the crossover wiki has another handy-dandy loophole called the AVGN rule, named after the angry video game nerd due to him pioneering this rule, which states that if a review series goes beyond just being a review and expands into storytelling, then it becomes considered fiction. Atop the Fourth Wall features extensive storylines. It even got spun off into a feature-length movie, and thus it is considered a fictional series, with Linkara going beyond just a screen name and becoming a fictional character separate from his creator and actor, Louis Lovehog. Keep this in mind in future installments. And I think this is the perfect transition back to comic crossovers. First of all, the comic Archie and Friends: A Halloween Tale, on top of the main Archie characters, features characters from Archie Comics' other major series, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Josie and the Pussycats, and of course, Sonic. Yeah, bet you didn't expect Sonic to be so close to Riverdale of all things. In the Sonic the Comics story, Megadroid, from issue 4, the titular Megadroid's reference cupboard fittingly features references to 5 other Sega games from the same time frame, due to them previously also having stories in the comic. These include Head from Decap Attack, the Golden Axe from Golden Axe, a Midway Monsters helmet from Mutant League Football, Trident's Trident from Eternal Champions, and a glyph from Echo the Dolphin. For the last installment of the Sonic crossover comic trilogy, we return from Britain back to the good old US of A with issue 7 of Archie's Sonic Super Special, which rather than featuring guest characters from other Archie series, instead features guest characters from Image Comics series. The Lost Ones, Shadowhawk, Spawn, Savage Dragon, Union, Velocity, and the Max. Considering that he's their mascot, it's unsurprising that Sonic would also headline Sega's big crossovers. First of all, Bark the Polar Bear and Beam the Dynamite from the Sonic fighting game Sonic the Fighters, or Sonic Championship as it was called outside Japan, are playable characters in Sega's Fighters Megamix, which also features characters from Virtua Cop, Daytona USA, and Rent a Hero. Also, the plane from Afterburner cameos, and Ben from Dynamite Ducks appears as an alternate costume for Bean the Dynamite, with Ben being revealed to be Bean's father in Bean's profile in the game's official guide. Sonic and Tails cameo in the game Sega Gaga, which also features cameo characters from a bunch of other Sega games: Phantasy Star, Astal, Samba de Amigo, Knights, Ristar, Clockwork Knight, E-SWAT, Aztec Adventure, Panzer Dragoon, Baku Baku Animal, Troubleshooter, and Get Bass. Sega Superstars features a mini-game based on Sonic. Sonic appears in its sequels, Sega Superstars Tennis, and after that, I guess Sega realized their name was no longer as profitable because their next crossover game gave Sonic top billing by calling it Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, and their latest one dropped the second name altogether with the name of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. But for our purposes, we'll just be labeling these all under the Sega Superstars series. They connect us to Choo Choo Rocket, Puyo Puyo, Super Monkey Ball, Jet Set Radio, Outrun, Crazy Taxi,
Billy Hatcher,
Bonanza Brothers, Skies of Arcadia, Burning Rangers, Football Manager, Total War, and Company of Heroes. And this next one isn't really a Sega crossover per se, but it is a Sega published crossover series, and that is the Dengeki Bunko Duology, two fighting games which primarily feature characters from Japanese light novels published under the imprint of the same name. But the stages are all Sega based, including the Green Hill Zone from Sonic, and stages based on Border Break, Virtual On, and 7th Dragon. Roster consists of playable and assist characters from And You Thought There Is Never a Girl Online, Sword Art Online, The Devil is a Part-Timer, Oremo, A Certain, A Cell World, The Irregular at Magic High School, Heavy Object, Black Bullet, Shakugan no Shana, Durarara, Toradora, Rokubu, Strike the Blood, Boogie Pop, Bludgeoning Angel Dokura-chan, Ground Control to Psycho-Electric Girl, Spice and Wolf, Uraya no Sora, UFO no Natsu, Kino's Journey, Golden Time, The Pet Girl of Sakura Su, Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere, and Grimoire of Zero. Dreamcast from Sega Hard Girls also makes an appearance, just not as part of the roster. Though Sonic has also gotten himself involved in two completely non-Sega related crossovers. The first is LEGO Dimensions, which features characters and locations from pretty much whatever random properties LEGO or Warner Brothers had the license to at the time, including Jurassic Park, Justice League, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, Ninjago, The Lego Movie, Doctor Who, Portal, Scooby-Doo, Lego Pharaoh's Quest, The Simpsons, Ghostbusters, Chima, The Wizard of Oz, Defender, Gauntlet, Super Sprint, Space Odyssey, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, The Flintstones, The Jetsons, Spy Hunter, Rampage, Toobin, 720 Degrees, Cyberball, Timber, Vindicators, Adventure Time, Mission Impossible, Harry Potter, The A-Team, Gremlins, E.T., Red Dwarf, Knight Rider, The Matrix, The Goonies, Lego City, Teen Titans, The Powerpuff Girls, and Beetlejuice. And finally, there's that god-awful 2022 Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers movie, which features an officially licensed appearance from Sonic. Okay, not the Sonic, but rather the original scrapped Sonic movie design, who here is dubbed Ugly Sonic. But it's still a version of Sonic nonetheless. This movie includes Chip 'n Dale, of course, but also character cameos from a bunch of other random animated properties, both from Disney and elsewhere. Silly Symphonies, Roger Rabbit, Little House, Avengers, The Jungle Book, the 2016 version, Phineas and Ferb, 101 Dalmatians, Mr. Natural, South Park, Masters of the Universe, My Little Pony, Emperor's New Groove, Doc McStuffins, The Lion King, the 2019 version, Kung Fu Panda, Monsters vs. Aliens, Big Mouth, and Darkwing Duck. Also, Chip and Dale are shown to have guest starred on an episode of Full House, and since this movie takes place in this weird meta-narrative where cartoon characters are actors who just always seem to play themselves for some reason, I think this counts.
So, originally for part 1, I was going to go through all of the first 182 all the way through Kingdom Hearts, and I wrote the script and recorded the whole thing. But then when I saw how it was already 30 minutes and that I'm not even halfway through the script, I decided that I should probably split it into 2, since I feel like if I kept going like this for another half hour, it would get pretty stale. So, Part 2 won't be the next video, but the video after that. As always, I'm the Cartoon Koala, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, I'm using a text-to-speech voice since my microphone is messed up. Which is why I sound like Kaylu's dad. Bye.